Greetings all, I'm Will Fenton, the creator and editor of Digital Paxton. Thanks so much for accommodating my virtual participation. I can assure you that I'd much rather be in Atlanta with all of you and in solidarity with Miss Stacey Abrams. In the recent special issue of American Quarterly, I presented my digital humanities project, Digital Paxton, as a window into an 18th century pamphlet war that mirrors, in some rather uncomfortable ways, the kind of viral media environment in which we live today. Cheap and quick to produce, the pamphlet served as a kind of 18th century tweet, fraught with familiar characteristics, outrage, unverifiable claims, and the shield of anonymity and pseudo-anonymity. I encourage you to read that piece, especially while it's available in open access. But what's the fun in rehashing past arguments? Today I want to offer a different entry point to the project. Yes, the Paxton Pamphlet War of 1764 was a watershed event in the development of early American print culture. Authors published dozens of declarations and dialogues, letters and remarks, addresses and answers. But let me be clear, the Paxton Pamphlet War wasn't just waged in pamphlets. What is underappreciated is that this print debate inspired some of the earliest political cartoons engraved in the American colonies. Political cartoons circulated in newspapers, nested within pamphlets, and were posted as standalone broadsides in taverns and coffee houses. Prior to the Paxton Pamphlet War, you'd be hard-pressed to find editorial cartoons in Philadelphia that didn't originate in London or Paris. In fact, many of the cartoons that lambasted the Stamp Act crisis were originally engraved in London. The ones that were engraved in America tended to be English derivatives. For example, the fastidious collector Pierre de Cimetière termed this Philadelphia engraving a, quote, wretched copy of the hand-colored edition that circulated in London. In particular, Philadelphia engravers Henry Dawkins and Claypool, James Claypool that is, cut their proverbial teeth during the Paxton Pamphlet War, illustrating at least half a dozen cartoons for Paxton critics and allies alike. Some of them were even good. All of the cartoons that I've uncovered warrant the shared attention of historians, literary scholars, and art historians. For example, in Franklin and the Quakers, James Claypool conjures a bacchanalian scene that pillories Benjamin Franklin for his self-interested political and economic machinations. He's the one in the center holding the sack labeled Pennsylvania money. Behind him, you'll see Quakers conspiring with the very indigenous peoples the backcountry settlers sought to displace. The political cartoon is particularly critical of Quakers' efforts towards Indian diplomacy through the so-called Friendly Association. You'll see the leader of that organization, Israel Pemberton, cavorting with a half-naked native woman in the top right corner, while another Quaker distributes tomahawks from a barrel bearing his initials. Meanwhile, Henry Dawkins' Paxton Expedition offers one of the earliest depictions of the interior of Philadelphia. That's decades before William Birch's Views of Philadelphia. In a clever twist, Dawkins recasts the city as a circus, in which the Quakers and their allies serve as ringleaders, marching upon the marchers, the Paxton Boys, seen here on horseback. Both engravers earned their reputations during the Pamphlet War. Claypool rose to such prominence that the Peel brothers painted his portrait, which is now available at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. Dawkins was good enough to escape punishment for forging continental currency during the early years of the American Revolution. In fact, in 1780, he was later awarded a very lucrative contract to print the official continental bills. The Dawkins and Claypool cartoons are freely available in Digital Paxton. So too are others, many of which have never before been digitized. My hope is that as scholars engage them, they'll recognize that the Paxton Pamphlet War wasn't just an inflection point in the development of an early American print culture. It also served as the germ of a distinct visual culture that endured and matured through the American Revolution and early national period. I encourage you to explore that complicated story at digitalpaxton.org. But if you're interested in the visual culture, please stay tuned. Thanks to the support of the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage, the Library Company of Philadelphia will translate this project into a freestanding graphic novel that reinterprets Digital Paxton's printed and visual materials from the perspective of the indigenous peoples the Paxton vigilantes sought to eradicate. You can explore that, or learn more about it at least, at librarycompany.org/redrawing-history. Thanks so much for your time.